SHRI Sai SATCHARITA, Chapter 10. Title: Sai Baba's Mode of Life, His Sleeping Ward, His Stay in Shirdi, His Teachings, His Humility, and the Easiest Path. Remember Sai Baba always with love, for he was always engrossed in doing good to all, and always abided in himself. To remember him only is to solve the riddle of life and death. This is the best and easiest of sadhanas, as it involves no expenditure. A little exertion here brings great rewards. So as long as our senses are sound, we should, minute by minute, practice this sadhana. All other gods are illusionary. Guru is the only God. If we believe in Sadguru's holy feet, he can change our fortune for the better. If we serve him nicely, we get rid of our samsara. We need not study any philosophy like the Nyaya or Mimamsa. If we make him our helmsman, we can easily cross over the sea of all our pains and sorrows. As we trust the helmsman in crossing rivers and seas, so we have to trust our Sadguru in getting over the ocean of worldly existence. The Sadguru looks to the intense feeling and devotion of his devotees, endows them with knowledge and bliss. In the last chapter, Baba's mendicancy and devotees' experiences and other subjects are dealt with. Let the readers now hear where and how Baba lived, how he slept, and how he taught, etc. Baba's wonderful bedstead. Let us first see where and how Baba slept. Mr. Nana Sahib Dingle brought for Sai Baba a wooden plank, a mount 4 cubits in length and only a span in breadth for sleeping upon. Instead of keeping the plank on the floor and then sleeping on it, Baba tied it like a swing to the rafters of the masjid, along with old shreds or rags, and commenced to sleep upon it. The rags were so thin and worn out that it was a problem how they could bear or support even the weight of the plank itself, let alone the weight of Baba. But somehow or other, it was Baba's sheer leela that the worn-out rags did sustain the plank with the weight of Baba on it. On the 4 corners of the plank, Baba lighted panatis, that is, earthen lamps, one at each corner, and kept them burning the whole night. It was a sight for the gods to see Baba sitting or sleeping on this plank. It was a wonder to all how Baba got up and down the plank. Out of curiosity, many careful observers kept watching the process of mounting and dismounting, but none succeeded. As the crowds began to swell, so to detect the wonderful feat, Baba one day broke the plank into pieces and threw it away. Baba had all the 8 siddhis, that is powers, at his command. He never practiced nor craved for them. They came to him naturally as the result of his perfection. Sagun manifestation of Brahman. Though Sai Baba looked like a man, 3 cubits and a half in length, still he dwelt in the hearts of all. Inwardly he was unattached and indifferent, but outwardly he longed for public welfare. Inwardly most disinterested. He looked outwardly full of desires for the sake of his devotees. Inwardly an abode of peace. He looked outwardly restless. Inwardly he had the state of Brahman. Outwardly he acted like a devil. Inwardly he loved Advaita, that is union or monism. Outwardly he got entangled with the world. Sometimes he looked on all with affection, and at times threw stones at them. Sometimes he scolded them, while at times he embraced them and was calm, composed, tolerant, and well-balanced. He always abided and was engrossed in the self and was well disposed towards his bhaktas. He always sat on one asan and never travelled. His band was a small stick, which he always carried in his hand. He was calm, being thought-free. He never cared for wealth and fame and lived on begging. Such a life he led. He always uttered Allah Malik, that is, God is the real owner. Entire and unbroken was his love for his bhaktas. He was the mine or storehouse of self-knowledge and full of divine bliss. Such was the divine form of Sai Baba, boundless, endless, and undifferentiated. One principle which envelops the whole universe, from a stone pillar to Brahma, incarnated in Sai Baba. The really meritorious and fortunate people got this treasure trove in their hands. while those people who, not knowing the real worth of Sai Baba, took or take him to be a man, a mere human being, were and are indeed miserable. His stay in Shirdi and probable birth date. No one knew or knows the parents and exact birth date of Sai Baba, but it can be approximately determined by his stay in Shirdi. Baba first came to Shirdi when he was a young lad of 16 and stayed there for 3 years. Then, all of a sudden, he disappeared for some time. After some time, he reappeared in Nizam state near Aurangabad and again came to Shirdi with the marriage party of Chand Patil when he was 20 years old. Since then, he stayed in Shirdi continuously for a period of 60 years, after which Baba took his Mahasamadhi in the year 1918. From this, we can say that the year of Baba's birth is approximately 1838 AD. Baba's mission and advice. Saint Ramdas flourished in 17th century and fulfilled to a great extent his mission of protecting cows and Brahmins. But within 2 centuries after him, the split between the two communities, Hindus and Mohammedans, widened again, and Sai Baba came to bridge the gulf. His constant advice to all was to this effect: Rama, the god of Hindus, and Rahim, the god of Mohammedans, were one and the same. There was not the slightest difference between them. Then why would their devotees quarrel among themselves? You ignorant folk, join hands and bring both the communities together. Act sanely, and thus you will gain your object of national unity. It is not good to dispute and argue, so don't argue. Don't emulate others. Always consider your interest and welfare. The Lord will protect you. Yoga, sacrifice, penance, and knowledge are the means to attain God. If you do not succeed in this by any means, vain is your birth. If anyone does any evil unto you, do not retaliate. If you can do anything, do some good unto other. This, in short, was Sai Baba's advice to all, and this will stand in good stead both in material and spiritual matters. Sai Baba is Sadguru. There are gurus and gurus. There are so many so-called gurus who go about from house to house with cymbals and veenas in their hands and make a show of their spirituality. They blow mantras into ears of their disciples and extract money from them. They profess to teach piety and religion to their disciples, but are themselves impious and irreligious. Sai Baba never thought of making the least show of his birth. Body consciousness he had none, but he had great love for his disciples. There are 2 kinds of gurus: Niyat, that is appointed or fixed, and Aniyat, unappointed or general. The latter, by their advice, develop the good qualities in us, purify our hearts, and set us on the path of salvation. But contact with the former dispels our quality, that is sense of difference, and establishes us in unity by making us realize thou art that is Tat Tvamasi. There are various gurus imparting to us various kinds of worldly knowledge, but he who fixes us in our nature, that is self, and carries us beyond the ocean of worldly existence is the Sadguru. Sai Baba was such a guru. His greatness is undescribable. If anybody went to take his darshana, he, without being asked, would give every detail of his past, present, and future life. He saw divinity in all beings. Friends and foes were alike to him. Disinterested and equal balanced, he obliged the evildoers. He was the same in prosperity and adversity. No doubt ever touched him. Though he possessed the human body, he was not the least attached to his body or house. Though he looked embodied, he was really disembodied, that is, free in this and every life. Blessed are the people of Shirdi who worshipped Sai as their god. While eating, drinking, working in their backyards and fields and doing various household works, they always remembered Sai and sang his glory. They knew no other god except Sai. What to speak of love, the sweetness of love, the women of Shirdi? They were quite ignorant, but their pure love inspired them to compose poems and songs in their simple rural language. Letters or learning they had none. Still, one can discern real poetry in their simple songs. It is not intelligence, but love that inspires real poetry as such. Real poetry is the manifestation of true love, and this can be seen and appreciated by intelligent listeners. Collection of these folk songs is desirable, and Baba is willing. Some fortunate devotee may undertake the task of collecting and publishing these folk songs, either in Sai Leela magazine or separately in a book form. Baba's humility. Lord or Bhagwan is said to have 6 qualities, that is fame, wealth, non-attachment, knowledge, grandeur and generosity. Baba had all these in him. He incarnated in flesh for the sake of his bhaktas. Wonderful was his grace and kindness. He drew the devotees to him, or how else would one know him? For the sake of his bhaktas, Baba spoke such words as the goddess of speech dare not utter. Here is the specimen. Baba spoke very humbly as follows: Slave of slaves, I am your debtor. I am satisfied at your darshan. It is great favor that I saw your feet. I am an insect in your excreta. I consider myself blessed thereby. What humility is this? If anybody would think that by publishing this any disrespect is shown to Sai, we beg his pardon, and to atone for this, we sing and chant Baba's name. Though Baba seemed outwardly to enjoy sense objects, he had not the least flavor in them, not even the consciousness of enjoying them. Though he ate, he had no taste, and though he saw, he never felt an interest in what he saw. Regarding passion, he was a celibate as Hanuman. He was not attached to anything. He was pure consciousness, the resting place of desire, anger, and other feelings. In short, he was disinterested, free, and perfect. A striking instance may be cited in illustration of this statement. Nanavali. There was in Shirdi a very quaint and queer fellow by the name Nanavali. He looked to Baba's works and affairs. He once approached Baba, who was seated on his gaddi, that is seat, and asked him to get up, as he wanted to occupy the same. Baba at once got up and left the seat, which he occupied. After sitting there after a while, Nanavali got up and asked Baba to take his seat. Then Baba sat on the seat and Nanavali fell at his feet, and then went away. Baba did not show the slightest displeasure in being dictated to and ousted. This Nanavali loved Baba so much that he breathed his last on the 13th day of Baba's taking Mahasamadhi, the easiest path, hearing the stories of saints and being in their company. Though Sai Baba acted outwardly like an ordinary man, his actions showed extraordinary intelligence and skill. Whatever he did was done for the good of his devotees. He never prescribed any asan, regulation of breathing, or any rites to his bhaktas, nor did he blow any mantra into their ears. He told them to leave off all cleverness and always remember Sai and Sai. If you did that, he said, all your shackles would be removed and you would be free. Sitting between 5 fires, sacrifices, chantings, eightfold yoga are possible only for the Brahmins. They are of no use to other classes. The function of the mind is to think. It cannot remain for a minute without thinking. If you give it a sense object, it will think about it. If you give it to a guru, it will think about guru. You have heard most attentively the greatness and grandeur of Sai. This is the natural remembrance, worship, and kirtan of Sai. Hearing the stories of saints is not so difficult as the other sadhanas mentioned above. They remove all the fear of this samsara and take you on a path of spirituality. So listen to these stories, meditate on them, and assimilate them. You may do or attend to your worldly duties, but give your mind to Sai and his stories, and then he is sure to bless you. This is the easiest path, but why do not all take to it? The reason is that without God's grace, we do not get the desire to listen to the stories of saints. With God's grace, everything is smooth and easy. Hearing the stories of the saints is, in a way, keeping their company. The importance of company of saints is very great. It removes our body consciousness and egoism, destroys completely the chain of our birth and death, cuts asunder all the knots of the heart and takes us to God, who is the pure consciousness. It certainly increases our non-attachment to sense objects and makes us quite indifferent to pleasure and pains and leads us to spiritual path. If you have no other sadhana such as uttering God's name, worship or devotion, etc., but if you take refuge in them, that is saints, wholeheartedly, they will carry you off safely across the ocean of worldly existence. It is for this reason that the saint manifests themselves in the world. Even sacred rivers such as Ganges, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri, etc., which wash away the sins of the world, desire that saints should come to them for a bath and purify them. Such is the grandeur of the saints. It is on the account of the store of merit in past births that we have attained the feet of Sai Baba. We conclude this chapter with meditation on Sai's form. He, the beautiful and handsome Sai, standing on the edge of the masjid and distributing udi to each and every bhakta with a view to his welfare. He who thinks the world as naught and who is ever engrossed in supreme bliss. Before him, we humbly prostrate ourselves. Bow to SHRI Sai. Peace be to all. Om Sai Nam.